What is motivation? Does it come to you? Do you wait for it to smack you in the face? Can you accomplish something without motivation? Is it something that you create? Find out today on Mind, Body, Food. Was that okay?
Yeah, that was good. So, guys, that was today. We said Jillian's going to try the intro, and Jillian did a great job. I know you don't love my sound effects. I had to give you a round of applause. Yeah, guys, today we want to talk about motivation. What is it? How does it work? Can you accomplish things without it? It's a pretty interesting topic. I think a lot of us are always looking for motivation. So that's what we're going to talk about today, this episode. And for those that are watching and listening for the first time, this is the Mind, Body, and Food podcast. This is a live look inside a therapy session. I guess I always say therapy. You're not a therapist, but we'll call it what do you call it? Coaching?
It's a counseling session.
Counseling. So this is a live counseling session with a registered dietitian, and I represent the audience, the average Joe or Jill or Jillian, no pun intended. So this came about because I am one of Jillian's clients, and we just thought we had great conversation. It would be a great podcast, and our goal is to try to help you with your mind, your body, and the food that you eat. And
we're trying to get you there quicker.
Right. And Jillian has personally helped me, so I know she can help you as well. And before we jump into things, we have an email address where we want you to email us questions or thoughts, anything you want us to talk about, any topics. So send us an email at mindbodyfoodpod@gmail.com. I'll have a link in the description for that. So be sure you send us some questions, feedback, topics, whatever it is. We'd love to hear from you.
I have been getting, I know people are listening because I'm getting a lot of patients and even friends who will text me and be like, I loved that topic. Maybe talk about this topic, and they're giving me ideas. But the really cute thing is my niece the other day, she's 9, Nayla, she FaceTimes me and she goes, Mommy and me, we were listening to your podcast in the shower. And she goes, I think you should do a topic on pop-up.
Did she hear your pop-up impression?
I think she does. And that's what made me think that she had that idea.
Has your dad heard your impression?
I don't know that he even listens. He's too busy sharing politics on Facebook.
Oh, geez. Sounds like my dad.
I don't know if he does. I'm sure he's heard me do it in purpose, like in person.
Oh, yeah.
Because he nags on me, so I get all
What was your niece's name again?
Nayla.
So let's give a big shout out to Nayla for listening, giving her feedback. I'm not sure if we'll do an episode on her pop-up one day, but we appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, maybe.
So this topic today, I think you got from a client or patient too, right? Motivation?
No, I think I came up with, maybe. I think I came up with this one only because, so initially the topic I wanted to have, I just gave a seminar at Bria Method. It's a gym around the corner from here. Really cool gym, actually. And I really, really liked the way the topic went because I segued goal setting with weight loss and nutrition. I like when I blend the two together. But I thought, we've been talking about diets lately. We've been talking about sugar. Is it bad for you? We did an episode on metabolism. And I just thought, let's talk a little bit more about mind. We have, because it all segues in and we talked about habit, but let's talk about the mind for a second. And I think motivation is a great topic because almost every patient of mine comes in and they're like, well, I'm waiting for motivation. And it's like, where is it coming from? And I don't think we know. I don't think people know what they mean. They know that they're not doing what they want. So then they think they need to wait around for it.
Yeah, I think it's easy when you're putting in work, or maybe you think you are and you're not doing what you think you're doing, then you get demotivated, then you lose your motivation. So yeah, I think it's a great topic that'll help a lot of people. I think before we get into it, I love to just give an actual definition so we kind of know where we're coming from with it. So this is from Wikipedia. So if it's wrong or you disagree, you could argue with Wikipedia. But according to Wikipedia, it says motivation is derived from the word motive, which denotes a person's need, desires, wants, or urges. It is a process of motivating individuals to take action in order to achieve a goal. And that's kind of like, I feel like that's the basis of every episode we talk about, really. It's like kind of encompasses, and weight loss, especially in mindset, it kind of encompasses all that.
Yeah, because they're all the same topic. It's funny because earlier this morning, I was like, in my brain, I was drawing a graph, and it's like, why aren't we motivated? What is motivation? What is a lack of motivation? What are the two reasons people tend to not hit a goal? Does it feel outside of your power? Is that called denial? Like, it's funny how like it all just branches together. It's the same thing said in a different way, thought in a different way, right? So like that's why we get on these shows and sometimes it seems like maybe we're repetitive or we're saying the same thing, but it's all the freaking same thing, but it's just, let's take a look at it from this angle over here. Let's talk about it from a failure standpoint. Let's talk about it from a negative standpoint or a motivated standpoint. Like, it's all the same thing though,
Yeah,
like, really cool like that.
Yeah, we're cars, and then all this thing encompasses a car. All the engine alone has tons of parts, so that's why but it's all a car at the end of the day.
It's all a car. It's still an engine. It's still a transmission. Like, yeah.
So somebody comes to you and they say, "I don't have my motivation. I'm lacking it." What to you is motivation?
Well, to me, so I like the definition that you found. To me, I always tell people when they're like, man, I can't seem to get myself going. Like, I can't seem to like find the motivation. I tell them motivation is very short-lived. Motivation is like a cell phone battery. Like, throughout the day, that battery is like flashing on red. You've got like 5%. So if you think that motivation is the thing that carries you through every single day, you're wrong. And you're going to be let down constantly. Motivation is what gives you the motive, right? It's the thing that makes you go, oh, that's what I'm working on. Like, and to me, what I do with people in here, I help people get creative. When someone comes in and they're like, I can't seem to find the motivation, and they think that they're thinking about it. They think that they're being mindful or in tune, and they're not. And they're like, yeah, I thought I was motivated, but then like I gave up on, packing snacks, and then I gave up on going to the gym. And it's like, okay, so let's assume you have more time this weekend. What would it look like? And I help take people through that process. And by the end of it, they're motivated. And I always stop them. I go, look what we just did. We created motivation, right? Like, I tell people, don't you feel more motivated to hit that goal that you said that you have? And they're normally like, yeah, I do. That was really neat. Because you can create motivation through visually discussing your goals, really picturing yourself there. What does it look like? What challenges are going to be there? What do you think you're going to do when you hit that challenge? You take yourself through that. And what I normally do when I have a patient leaving, I go, look, if I'm doing my job right, you are going to feel very motivated. You're welcome. We just did that together. 3 days from now, real life is going to kick in and motivation is going to go away. Don't be surprised by it. You can't sit there and be like, oh, that feel-good feeling is gone. I guess I'm just going to have to sit around and wait for motivation again. Continue with the plan, because through that plan, through that act of doing, you're going to build momentum. You're going to get some slight results, whether the scale went down or even if it's like MyFitnessPal going, congratulations, you just entered your food for 5 days, or whether you checked off in your book, you are going to create momentum, which then leads to more motivation, which leads to more action. And it's like this circle. So people think that they need to like just sit there and wait for motivation, but it is something you can create.
Yeah, that was really good breakdown. There's a lot to unpack there. I had like so many different thoughts to add to that, but I think the biggest thing is
every time I probably say something, you're like, yeah, and then I keep going. I should just start stopping in the for after a minute and be like, what do you want to say?
No, because when you're on a roll, you're on a roll. I got to let it go. Maybe I might have to just start taking notes while you talk so I can remember.
Or you could just record it.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is from the way what you describe it, motivation is kind of like a couple things. It's kind of like, it's like a drug, it's an emotion, and it's an energy. And you can't really, that's
a good way to put it. It is an energy, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, that's not, it's really like an emotion if you think about it. And it's not sustainable or reliable or realistic to constantly rely on that if you want to get your stuff done.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, like it's fleeting. It's going to come and go. Like you said, they have a session with you. They're feeling great. You said 3 days later, real life kicks in. How about 2 hours later? How about they hit traffic on the way home
and they're pissed off?
Yeah.
Shopping trip that they thought that they were going to get to do to make sure they have the hard-boiled eggs. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, when the real world kicks in, that's kind of why motivation's great. And sometimes you have to dig deep to get it to help you, but you also can't rely on it all the time.
You can't rely on it because, in my personal opinion, so like motivation to me is the motive, right? But on the way to my work, I was looking up a definition, and it said the Latin said it was like movement or like to move, but I think you combined motivation, like the motive, with to move. Motivation is not movement. Motivation gets you moving. And you have to know that you do not have an infinite amount of motivation. You have to keep reminding yourself of what your motive is, right? I'm always reminding myself of what my motive is. What is my goal? What am I working towards, right? I already have a goal for a year from now. I will keep revisiting it. Once a month, I revisit it. Once a week, even if it's a couple minutes, I have a couple minutes to myself, and I'm like, what can I do this week? What small little things can I do this week that will keep me on the path towards reaching that goal? Constantly doing that. One of the biggest reasons I think people don't hit their goal, or people how do I put it? People stop going towards their goal, is because their goal is not clear. So, and who knows where that comes from? Some of my patients, they've said they want to lose weight so many times. Like I have a couple I can actually think of right now. They said that they've wanted to lose weight so many times. They've tried, they failed. They tried, they failed, that they no longer believe it. And I think they convince themselves that they don't care enough, because after all, I don't want to be obsessed with the scale. And me, I'm not a pusher for being obsessed with the scale, but a complete avoidance and ignorance to it doesn't get you any closer either, right? And so what happens is the goal is not clear, and it's like, well, like I just want to be like healthier. Okay, but like let's be more direct. What does that mean for you? How do you give yourself, right? So like I read once, it's like driving a Lamborghini without a place to go. Like you're doing everything, you're doing lots of things, but like you're really not doing anything. You really don't know where you're going. And then at the end, you're mad at yourself because you're putting all this work in, but you're not motivated to get there because you don't even know, you don't have a motive.
Wait, what? So what is, I like that analogy, but what is that in reference to? What is it like driving a Lamborghini with nowhere to go? What do you mean?
You have no direction.
Oh, when you have no direction or no clear goal.
You feel like you're doing a lot. I feel like I'm doing things, and like I say I'm going to do this, but like, of course you don't have a clear cut plan because you don't know where you're going.
Right. You have to have a specific plan or a specific goal, so you clearly know like where you're working towards.
Yeah.
So like if motivation's fleeting and you can't rely on it, how do you utilize it, or how do you use it? Is it like just a tool that you use when you're down, or like how do you recommend using it?
I mean, me personally, And if I actually had, I was gonna say if I had patients that listened to me. Me personally, I am incredibly scatterbrained, right? I know that people come in and I've had people say, I wish I was driven like you, or I wish understand I was in trouble in school all the time. Jillian doesn't sit still. Jillian doesn't stop talking. Like I was like a solid C- student. And that was like, that took a lot of work, right? So for me, I revisit my goal damn near every single day. I remember what my goal is. Like, so I like taking a look at the week in advance. I love Sunday mornings or Monday mornings, all depending on what my schedule looks like, and being like, what small things can I do this week that is going to keep me reaching for that goal of mine, or is going to keep me moving towards that thing? And then most days I spend at least 5 minutes, but 5 minutes is enough. Because what I believe happens is we think we're spending time on it, but you never slow down and really remind yourself of your goal, right? So then what happens? You eat lunch, you're hungrier than usual, you don't know why. You then go to Wawa, you buy a soft pretzel and a bag of chips, and then you beat yourself up. See, like, this is never going to get me to my goal. And so what happens is people think that they're working on their goals constantly. Like if you didn't know any better and you screwed up like that one way or another daily, right? Then the next day you thought you were going to go to the gym, you hit snooze, you're like hoping you take a walk later, you don't take a walk later. Then after that, you're like sitting down, you're kind of mad at yourself and you're like, see, like I'm never going to hit my goal. And when I say to people, how often do you revisit your goals? They're like daily. Wait a minute. How often do you sit down, like nothing happened, nothing's making you do this, and go, what is my goal? Is my goal still that thing? And sit there and picture it and feel it. What does it feel like to hit that goal? Why is that my goal? Do I think I like, and sit with it. And then just ask yourself, am I still moving towards that thing? Right? That'll help give you a plan. Again, doesn't mean you won't screw up later in the day, but you're going to, mark my words, you will do a little bit better that day and the next day and the next day if you do that. But if you don't, and you let that goal slide away and you think that you're thinking about it, you're not going to have motivation. You're not going to be doing the things that are going to get you there.
You know what's crazy is I don't think we really realize how much work consciously and subconsciously this stuff takes. Like it's not just, you know, like everything you just said is work. It's a lot of work. It's hard work, but it's got to be done and you can't avoid it. And it has to be done every day. And I think that's maybe what there's a disconnect there where maybe people don't realize how much of a conscious effort it takes, whether you're trying to lose weight, get healthy or whatever your goal is. Like it's really a lot of work. And like what you said is that's the work that needs to be done. And it's like these small step building up momentum. I think that's kind of what keeps your motivation going too.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is, Zach? You have to really believe in it, in the work, right? Or in the point, rather. Because it can sound like a lot of work, right? What is this, episode like 15?
I think 13.
Okay. So we talk, even though we haven't had a session on meditation, you've heard me speak about meditation. Mm-hmm. You've heard me talk about goal setting. You've heard me talk about motivation. You've heard me talk about you fail, you keep moving on. You don't like it, right? So like it all sounds like a lot of work, but if you think about it, again, they are all kind of the same thing. And I think as humans, none of this should be an option. It shouldn't be like prescribed. Oh, you're depressed and you're unmotivated. All right. Well, we're going to have your goal set and do a little meditation in the morning. Like we should probably all be doing it because we have this higher level part of our brain, right? But we don't know how to use it. So then our higher level part of our brain that analyzes and understands feeling. It criticizes the primal part of the brain. And for me, I believe that meditation and really sitting down with your goals, whether you call it journaling or visualizing, I don't care what you call it, right? But it helps the two parts of the brain come together. And if we don't do that, then they're separated. And we wonder what's wrong with us. And we're constantly beating ourselves up and then waiting for motivation, and beating ourselves up and waiting for motivation. And I think like all these skills that we keep talking about, they need to come together. And eventually they don't feel like work, you know? Like I was yesterday, I told you, I shared a couple of our episodes with patients of mine that I thought like that episode would help like certain people depending on like what their struggles are and stuff like that. And I had a couple people say, oh my God, I really needed to hear that. That was great, right? It's things that they like, and I can already picture it, right? It's things they've already heard. They should have if they're listening to me, right? It's things they should have already heard. The problem is, when's the last time they heard it? A month ago at our session, right? At our appointment. So like, but maybe had they sat down in the morning and they were like, what am I working towards? What did Jillian and I talk about? Oh, I'm not a failure. I just, you know, I have some habits that followed me from childhood. Okay, not a big deal. What am I working towards? Why do I want to be there? So it seems like it's a lot of work, but like, don't you think it's fun to be creative?
Yeah.
I like being creative. Like even if I'm creating my future in my brain. So that isn't a lot of work, but when something's not your normal, it seems like a lot of work. Like, oh, I gotta meditate and I gotta journal. But think about it. That's like being like, so you want me to like relax and sit still and then write a story about myself, right? How much work is it to want to talk about yourself in a book? We love talking about ourselves.
Yeah, you make a great point. So I think to some people, it could feel like work. So how do you frame it so that it doesn't feel like work and it's something automatic that you just start doing, you know?
Sure. Well, again, like I think everyone should be doing these things. Does that mean every patient of mine is doing these things? No, because you have to believe in it. You have to believe in it. And it can be so hard to believe it. Like there's gotta be a reason. We're all of guys, I'm not even that unique. Right? Like go on Instagram right now and look up like motivation. And what are you going to do? You're going to get a slew of authors and motivational speakers. And we're all saying the same flippin' thing. Right? And we're not saying it let me rephrase this. I'm not saying it because I'm making a killing off you guys. I'm not rich. I'm saying it because it's true, because I've done it with myself. So why are we so resistant? Why would we rather skip the journaling, skip the meditation, think that it's not going to fix us, surf on Facebook, like say we have no time, but find the time to surf on Facebook and Instagram for 2 hours collectively or more, you know, binge watch. And I'm not, and I'm not talking shit on people that do this. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I waste time. So don't think that I'm being like that. I'm not being one of those people. But why are we so resistant to change then?
Well, I think that's why I mentioned the work part and how to frame it in your mind and it's not work. I think that's part of it is that they think it's a lot of work.
Well, you have to believe it can help. And I think the reason people don't do it, and I heard it's called, what's it called? It's called the Locust Effect, which to me, I call it you're a victim. And when you're a victim, you don't feel like you have control over anything. So that's like, oh, were you working out the way you said you were going to? Oh, I couldn't. There was no time. And then the weather was really hot one week and then it was really cold one week. Or were you able to, you know, work on those dinners that you said? Oh, I couldn't. You don't get it. Like my family, literally, they won't even eat the same thing. When you, in your heart, think that nothing is in your control. I can't do that because they won't allow it. I can't work out because of that. I can't lose weight because of my metabolism. I can't control my eating because of my, when you do not believe that you have any power over something, you will not do it. And that is why people don't journal, because they don't believe it yet. And it doesn't matter. Oh, I see Jillian doing it, or I see, Tony Robbins doing it. Well, I bet he is. He's rich, or I bet she is. She hit her goal. It doesn't matter. How do you think I hit my goal? By like hoping it smacked me in the face, right? But if you do not believe, it won't help. And it's funny because there are stages of readiness. There are 5 stages of readiness. I'm not gonna get into, or maybe I will. Do you want to hear the stages of readiness?
I wonder if that would be a good topic for.
Okay.
Do a whole episode on that?
I'm not letting you hear them. But anyway, there are stages of readiness, and you need to know where you are to be able to understand your goal and to move on. I was taught this in school. So this is for people who want to, say they want to lose weight or say they want to control their blood sugars. But this goes for anything. This goes for someone that should stop smoking, someone who should be saving their money. And there are 5 stages of readiness. The one thing they didn't teach me in school was, well, how do you get to the next stage and what keeps you from it, right? So I did that research on my own. There are 2 reasons a person can't get to the next stage to achieving their goal. And it's either the person's goal is just not that strong, or they have failed so many times they no longer believe in themselves. And so that one would be the Locust Effect, right? Oh, well, you don't get it. Like, I come from a long history of a slow metabolism. We're all only 5 foot and, well, then how likely is it that that person is going to sit down and goal set every day to work towards a goal that's out of their hands?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I personally believe the belief is always the first step. If a person does, and I don't mean like a little self-doubt. I doubt myself often, but big picture, I also know like there's nothing I can't do. I always say, like, if I was challenged, do I think I could get there? Right. So then there's the person who their goal is just not strong enough. And who knows why? Maybe they worked towards it before and they lost interest. Maybe they're complacent. But that is the person that I'm normally like, okay, are you reaching that goal? You said you wanted to lose 10 pounds by Easter. No, I don't know what my problem is. And I'm normally like, if I bet you $10,000, I sound like Dr. Evil, $10,000. But if I bet you $10,000 that you could not hit that goal in 2 months, what would you say for real? And they're like, I'd freaking do it. Well, then there you go. Your motivation's not strong because you don't care enough. Maybe you want that goal, but you're all right being where you are, right?
Yeah, you touched on belief, which is a huge thing. And I think, we talked about how you can't rely on motivation, but I think belief is what you need to rely on, right? You need to have belief before motivation.
The very first one, belief. If you do not believe, and again, I don't mean like a little self-doubt, but like, if you do not believe in yourself, you will not get there. You can't do something that you don't believe in because you think it's out of your power. And look, we know how hard all this is anyway. How much harder could it be if you really didn't believe in it? Right? If I didn't believe that I was in control of my money, I would never work. I would never work. Right? Doesn't mean I don't want to help people. And I don't only do it for money, but I would never work. If I didn't believe that my children could get any smarter from what they are right now, I'd pull them out of sports. They probably wouldn't make it to school. You need to have a belief right? And if you really don't believe in something, that's what you need to sit with.
Man, that's some good stuff right here. So yeah, it's really the foundation of all, because that's why people give up too. They lose the belief and the faith in themselves. So like the belief is the foundation of your motivation and accomplishing your goals.
Absolutely. Like when I was practicing swimming, I'll be honest with you, and I'm mentally competitive. I'm always pushing myself. I, for a period of time there, truly believed that there was like something wrong with me that I couldn't learn to swim. I really believed it. And it was knocking me down and it hurt and I know that that's what people go through in other things. I've gone through that in other things. I've also learned to pull myself out. When I get like that, I take a look at small little progress, right? And then it got to the point where I couldn't even look at the time and say I was progressing there. So then what did I have to call my progress? I was like, the fact that you're getting in the pool and you don't like it. That is the progress. Like you got to find small little wins to work on the belief.
Yeah, knowing you, because this is your favorite phrase that's ingrained in my head, you probably said to yourself, "This isn't a big deal. Like I'll just figure it out." Because that's the thing you say the most, which has probably impacted me the most. Is like it's not a big deal. Whatever the situation is, like it's not a big deal. You figure it out.
Because I think you spaz, and I'm like, get over it. Like,
yeah.
What you just did does not matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to break things down is like not get overwhelmed. You know, maybe you're overwhelmed for a second and then you just got over it.
Well, that's like that saying, Christy, I'm doing another saying if you're listening. You're too close to the tree to see the forest, right? So you're like, I did, like, think about it. Let's talk about me with swimming. I did it again. I got in the pool. Like, this is me close to the tree, right? I got into the pool and like, I did 20 minutes and it was a sucky 20. And like, it's like, take a step back. You got in the pool. Get over it. It's not a big deal. So you weren't really fast. It does not matter. Who does it matter to? Did the world end because you were slow again? Right? It doesn't matter. Same thing with food, you know? So you blew it and you went to McDonald's and you thought you were only getting a burger and a small fry and you got two Big Macs, a large fry, and a milkshake. Oh my God, I did it again. All right, take a step back. It doesn't matter. How do you make it look a little bit different next time? Right? How do you make the rest of the day look better? It's not a big deal. But when you think it's a big deal, you just keep reminding yourself that you suck at it.
Right.
And if you really think that you lack control, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, it all goes back to belief. That's really like the cornerstone of everything. It's crazy.
But it's the cornerstone of motivation, right?
Yeah.
Because you can sit there and picture a goal all you want, but if you don't believe in it, and I'm sure you've heard me say this before, like, I don't mean 100%, you know, there was like 30% of me that believed I could learn to swim. So like, for me, that was enough. I never, if I had waited for 100%, like if I had sat there and was like, what do I need to do to be a good swimmer at that point? If I had waited for 100%, I'd still be waiting.
Right. And you start at 30%, but the more strokes, the more reps you get in, the more that percentage goes up. It might not get to 100, but at least it'll get to freaking 85, 90.
I got into that race at 70. To me, that was phenomenal.
That's passing, right? That's a passing grade. See, at the C.
Yeah, I see that. I am a C- student.
It all comes full circle.
My third grade teacher didn't realize C- was going to work for me. Everyone's shooting for A's, but I'm accomplishing shit through C-.
Well, this has been another great episode. I always love I try not to do a recap at the end because we said so much stuff, but I always like to leave people with the takeaway. I guess my opinion, the takeaway is really the belief part. So you can't rely on motivation. You have to rely on your beliefs, and you can kind of use motivate. You can use your belief to reinvigorate your motivation. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Or you can't you can't motivate yourself to get anywhere if you don't believe you can get there in the first place.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yeah. Yeah, this has been awesome. So yeah, guys, we appreciate you guys watching and listening. So this is episode 13. So it's been fun. It's been growing. We're getting great feedback. So we appreciate you guys watching and listening. And don't forget, we have our email. We want you guys to send us questions, feedback, mindbodyfoodpod@gmail.com. And Jillian, so you have your sessions in person, you do your motivational speaking, you do your seminars. So where can people find you or learn more about your stuff?
Yep. So you guys can follow me on Facebook, Nutritionista, and on Instagram, it's Nutritionista_1.
Awesome. And guys, for me, I have another podcast called Coaches and Content where we teach you how to get more clients through digital marketing and content creation. So go to, you could go to coachesandcontent.com or search on YouTube and all podcast platforms. I'm on Facebook. And yeah, we appreciate you guys for watching and listening, and we'll be back next week with another episode.
Thank you guys.